Hello viewer, my name is Teacher Moreidi, a teacher at Alliance High School. Today we are dealing with guidance and counseling, and why is it important to a student? Why do we need to teach as we also guide the student? Now, talk of guidance and counseling, the first thing I want to pose as a question to you is, what is education? If I ask you, are you educated or are you learned? And what's the difference between being educated and being learned? Most people will say, I'm learned. Others will call themselves learned friends. But the question is, are you educated? Now, education is something wholesome. When we talk of education, even as we guide students at Alliance High School, we strive to do something called bringing up a wholesome child, an all-rounded individual, not just somebody who has memorized facts, academic facts. And when you talk of being learned, learned means you have information. You have a lot of information. That means you have a lot of facts on life, facts on science, facts on physics, facts on chemistry, facts on law, facts on engineering. That is a learned person. But what about an educated person? Do you want a child who is learned, or do you want a child who is educated? Now, a classical definition of the word education, somebody defined it in a rather interesting manner. And somebody said that education is what remains when you will have forgotten everything that you studied in school. Now, figure that out. That education is what remains when you will have forgotten everything that you studied in school. Therefore, as we look at guidance and counseling, as you look at my chart, we are going to look at areas of counseling. This is formal education counseling, to do with education. There has to be social values, and then there has to be family values and career guidance. Those are the four key pillars or areas where we guide a student. When we are at Fanisi Academics, because this is the platform where we are expressing our ideas to the students at large, we focus on these four key areas. When I talk about formal education counseling or guidance, this is where you guide the student on how to perform in the examinations. At Fanisi platform, if you look at something called www.fanisiacademics.com, is where we do a lot of this educational counseling, whereby, for example, the areas I tackle are mathematics and business studies. And one thing I tell students is that you may study all the business studies there is to be studied, from Form 1 up to Form 4 or even Form 6 for the KCSE system. But if you don't know how to present answers and workings to the expectation of the examiner, you may have all that business that you have learned, you have crammed a lot of notes, but if you can't present your work and the answers as they are supposed to be presented, you may underperform or even find out that you are failing. And I've seen over the years, during my teaching experience, that there are students with a lot of knowledge, but they fail simply because they don't know how answers are expected to be presented for the examiner to award marks. Therefore, in the areas of mathematics, in the areas of business studies, I guide students on how do you present your work. Some students are very good in maths, very good. As a parent, you can even tell that this student is very good in maths. But when they do the national examination, they end up scoring something, a meager grade, something like a C or something like a B, and then you wonder, how comes my son or my daughter has been very good in mathematics, very sharp, but has failed, has not performed according to my expectation. I expected this student to score an A, but has come home with a B or a C, because there are techniques on exams that must be drilled on the child. Apart from learning, the student has learned the whole content, the syllabus is learned, but you need to guide the student on how do you present your answers. There are some answers that are correct but do not earn marks. Therefore, how do you make your correct answer admissible and earn marks? So that has to do with so much to do with guidance and counseling on examination techniques, how to manage time. When you're doing the exam, how do you manage your time? The questions given, how much time should you spend on a particular question? How much time should you allocate a question that has calculation work, let's say business studies? How much time do you give a question that has to do with financial statements, accounting work? How much time should you allocate that? And then the answers you calculate, how do you present that answer? For example, there are some words that students use that are not correct words to be used in an answer. A very good example that I may give is circumstantial questions. If you are told, give circumstances under which this and this should happen, and there are those key words that a student has to use. Words like if, in case, where, when. Once those words are left out, the answers may be correct, all of them, but they are not admissible for marks. And you find that the student has so much knowledge but cannot be able to perform well in the examination. When you come to area of mathematics, there are answers you cannot present as improper fractions, for example. Is a correct answer? Yes. But if you present it as an improper fraction, again you fail. An answer is correct, but not according to the required number of significant figures or decimal places. Again, you find the student failing. But yet the answer is correct. But according to what you call the rubric, the demands of the question, it is not presented as required. Therefore, a student finds themselves failing. There are questions on construction work. A student does not construct as required. They know how to use the instruments, they know how to use the protractor, the compasses and all that, but once they don't follow the instructions in the examination, then they find themselves failing. And that's how many of our students are wasted by exams and they don't perform according to expectation. And these techniques, because I have a whole write-up on that, on business studies and maths, we normally present them to schools. If schools need that presentation, because I am an examiner with the Kenya National Examination Council, there are some things that schools ask of us, and we guide their students that this is how to answer questions in the exam. This is what is required, and this is how to apply the knowledge you have.